Tēnā koutou katoa, ka nui te mihi kia koutou, e uri mai kia mātou e tēnei rā. Ko Natalie Vincent toko ingoa, ko ahu te tumuaki o ngā tangata microfinance. Ko taku koa ki te manaaki e tēnei hui e tēnei rā, mea aku meme o te ropo. Nau mai, haere mai. Good morning to you all and thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Natalie Vincent and I'm the Chief Executive of Ngā Tangata Microfinance. It's my pleasure to host this meeting today along with my team members. We are so pleased to welcome you here today. I'd like to open this meeting with a karakia. Tu tawa mai e runga, tu tawa mai e raro, tu tawa mai e waho, tu tawa mai e roto. Kia tau I te Māori tū, te Māori ora, ki te katoa, homi e, hui e, taiki e. We really hope this will be both an enjoyable and an insightful webinar. We completely understand that many of us are feeling Zoom and webinar fatigue, so we'll try and keep this really buoyant. This is the first time our team has attempted a webinar, so please bear with us if we have technical issues. And suffice to say, it's an understatement that I'm IT challenged, so please do be patient. We've got a jam-packed hour of lots of talking and tips, and the purpose of us putting this webinar together was to help you all understand a bit more about our kaupapa and our process. Also to meet the team and put faces to the names you will have often seen on your emails. So let's get started. I'll firstly run through our agenda for today.
Okay, kia ora tātou, ko tākou kōrero, ki te haere mai, ki a koe mai I tamaki makoro. Our loan options, currently they are the Get Control and Get Ahead. The Get Control and Get Control extensions go up to possible 6,000 for debt relief, but no more than 3,000 at any one time, and works with most types of debts, but not the government debt. Whilst the Get Ahead loan helps with essential items needed now if the budget has a surplus, or you could be setting goals to make a purchase in the future. Anyone embarking on a loan application can contact Ngā Tangata Microfinance, and we welcome that and have a chat about either loan. And usually it's a chat about the debt schedule make up for the Get Control. And it's usually the items are required for the Get Ahead. So, or working out which would be the right loan to use if both requirements were urgent. Our loan criteria, this is available on our brochure, just the basic outline. It's also available on page 2 of the eligibility section of the application form and on our website in the Mentors login, which includes the manuals for the greatest amount of detail. I have 5 criteria to talk about here. So the first one is 2 months of the applicant engaged with mentors. Now this is often queried. And the background to this time period criteria is that loans don't have interest, our loans don't have any interest. We don't look up credit history at all. And the only requirement for individuals, therefore, is to make themselves known to a financial mentor. For an exception to this rule, the mentor would have to make a case and include within their application cover letter. It could be that there has been an intense period of work gone on and many sessions have gone in, or there could be other support services that are involved as well, and we can include them. You can contact Ngā Tangata about anything around the engagement period. And the second one is applicant income. We use the Ministry of Social Development Community Service Card income guidelines on their website, although not so suitable for single people. And it's worth checking out. Sometimes you think that the income is too high, but then you go and look up the table and find out that, yeah, it's okay because it depends on the number of family members in the household. But you can contact us on any income level that comes up. Third, there is a debt schedule criteria. More than 15K left within the debt schedule after a loan has been taken. This comes up, of course, with the debt levels that you are used to seeing. Some case exceptions have been made around incomes being where it's been wages, and that the large debt is primarily a car that's used to get to work. We do suggest Debt Fix with their debt solution services. You can contact us for any queries on the debt schedule criteria. Number 4, items for Get Ahead. This is for essential needs, wellbeing. The common ones, of course, are car, repairs, and IT. And from the Mentors login on our website page, that's on our homepage and up in the top right-hand corner, in there, FAQs show examples of what's typically approved, and there's also examples of what's been declined. So one that we can't do is car purchases. And we would refer to the Good Shepherd Microfinance, Good Loans, to see if that situation was right for them. You can contact us on any queries for an item for Get Ahead. Number 5 is the debt types within the debt control loan. So we have 3K that can be for high interest debt or debts to pay them out. It could be it could also be an unmanageable debt or stuck debt situation, and could include also debt collectors' utility debt, service debt like childcare arrears, lawyers, garage debt, maybe stressed buy now, pay later. You're welcome to contact us about any debt types and situations. This is indeed our main area of our inquiries. I want to just drill down a little bit more into that, and from past applications that had in them matured loans, or old credit card, store card, debt collectors, and debts with older aged folk who have credit cards or store cards, and lock-up storage situations needing to be resolved. Mentors used the Ngā Tangata $3,000 loan to settle much bigger debts. So that is so great to see our loans work this hard for your clients. For finance loans that are still within term, but are in arrears of repayments are unaffordable and within the 3K, you may get some traction there also if penalties were wiped, as shown by an application that was approved just yesterday. Preparing an application forms, the aim is for mentors to confidently explain all parts of the Ngā Tangata Microfinance application forms with their clients. And the Mentors login has a get control application form, further explained section by section for mentor reference. But you are welcome to contact us about any part of the application form. Application formats are manual PDF and online links. And these are available in the Mentors login, or you can contact us to forward to you. The online application is being used more in COVID times and is quicker. Trialing is most welcome. You can put testing in the client name, and you can upload a couple of holiday pics if you like, and submit it to us as a mock application. Put your name in there too, and we'll give you a ring back. Okay, and lastly, service supports. Ngā Tangata Microfinance visited services around the country last year to meet face-to-face, and we're continuing to visit ongoing, but when the COVID settles. We have application trainings that we can do online, such as Google Meet or Zoom. You're welcome to ask about especially about this, especially if new to Ngā Tangata or new people starting in your service, or for refreshers. For individual applications or loan extension applications, you can phone, email to chat about options, criteria, making a case for an exception, something in the application form, or sending in the application form links, and really, literally anything else. We can also send out brochures. We have them in 4 languages, and the wallet cards. You can give to your clients to discuss. You can visit the ngātangata.org.nz Mentors login. It is passworded, and we can send this on request. You can ask us where to find something in the login or navigating the login. We have been doing this mahi for 11 years now, and for me about 5 or 6. And we're going to continue to enjoy working with you towards the same goals. Ka kite. And thanks to everybody. I can see you all in the chat. It's wonderful. Yeah. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much, Linda. Of course, I can see the chat now too. And obviously, I didn't share my slides. So all those beautiful slides that we had, I shared the wrong screen, my notes. So as I said, technical difficulties could happen. Hopefully I will have rectified that now, and you will be able to see what I'm hoping that you can see and not my talking notes. So I'm going to hand over now to Emily Dobinson, who is our loans officer, and she is going to talk to you about the loans process, the application process, what happens when we receive an application from you. So I'm going to hand over to you, Emily.
Kia ora. Thanks, Natalie. Tēnā tātou e hui hui mai nei. Welcome, everyone. I've been working for Ngā Tangata Microfinance since 2020, and I come from a background working in client-facing roles, including budgeting, youth work, and supporting people to stop smoking. I'm in the final leg of studying towards a Bachelor in Social Policy, and I live in Ototahi, Christchurch, with my husband and a dog that is so bouncy he recently gave me black eye. So today I will be going over the application process for you, including what we do when we receive an application and how we prepare an application for one of the loan committees to assess. I'll also touch on different aspects of the supporting documentation that you can provide and how these help the review and the excuse me, approval process. So what happens when we receive a completed application? I aim to email acknowledgement of an application as soon as possible within 1 working day. So if you haven't heard from me in 2 working days, get in touch to check that I've received it. We create a loan application file in our secure online database, and we upload the application and any supporting documentation into this. It's great to have any ID and bank statements in separate files because we don't submit these to the loans committee. And once the process for the loan is complete, we delete them for privacy reasons. We accept different file formats, PDFs, Word docs, image files, and Excel spreadsheets, although ultimately we will convert them all into a PDF format. And sometimes we don't receive a cover letter with an application, but these are really valuable in providing extra content, excuse me, extra context and information for your client applications. This can be written in the cover letter section of the application form or on a separate document, or you can just write it in the body of your email. We do appreciate at the moment, particularly with COVID and working from home, and sometimes a struggle to see your clients face to face, that getting documents together can be really tricky. We might have some tips and tricks that could help get certain types of information. An example is I've got some instructions on how your client could get their MyMSD financial information from their phone, or download an app to turn a smartphone into a tiny scanner. And these can just help with the process when everything's a little bit tricky during these times. So when we review all the information and have specific checks that we need to go through, we can then begin to prepare the application for assessment. Some of the common things that we see missing on an application form are missing writing in the date of birth or dependent details, missing interest rates for debts, and repayment amounts, the repayment amounts that are suggested for the NTM loan repayment. Sometimes the secondary contact details are not filled out. This is needed to ensure that when a person has a loan with NTM, if we're unable to contact them directly or through their financial mentor, we have another option to check in with them if they miss their repayments or if they've overpaid their loan. And be rest assured that we'll never discuss their loan details with a secondary contact. My last request would be to use the current version of our application form. This helps us a lot when we're inputting the data into the database, because we've aligned the up-to-date form to fit in with how we enter this, so it saves time. As Linda mentioned, excuse me, you can access the current forms through our website and the Mentors login, as well as the online application link if you would like to do an online application, or you can just get in touch with us and we can send these to you. Both the eligibility checklist and the application checklist in the application form are great tools to check if you've gathered all the correct information and if your application fits within our guidelines. If it doesn't, or you're not sure about something, please get in touch with Linda to see if we can provide support before submitting an application. This brings me to my next talking point, the wonderful and exciting world of budgets and debt schedules. So we currently ask for a current and a proposed budget. The current budget is the current reality for your clients. So we want to see a realistic and a detailed budget here. And this may be in deficit for a get control debt relief loan application. However, we do need to see a proposed budget in surplus. For the debt relief application, the proposed budget will have the debts that are being applied for removed and the repayments to Ngā Tangata added in, whereas the Get Ahead asset building application will only have the repayments to Ngā Tangata added in. We also check the budgets against the bank statements, MSD and wage income, as well as any other sources stated on the budget. And this is a common place for questions to arise. If the income and the transactional spending isn't reflected in the budget, we'll often ask for clarity or maybe some amendments. Part of our kaupapa is about providing safe, fair and affordable finance options, and we really don't want to create or sustain hardship for people. A helpful tip is to go through the bank transactions with your client as part of the preparation for an application. This is often quite insightful and a good talking tool for further conversation. If there are out of ordinary bank transactions, these can be addressed in your cover letter or a note made for us. A cash flow is optional, but it can really help with fluctuating incomings and outgoings. So an example where this would be appropriate might be if you have they have buy now, pay later accounts or debt repayments ending soon, just about to start a part-time job, or income from the best payment ending. A cash flow can provide a clearer picture for us to understanding a changing budget and being able to assess affordability going forward. For debt schedules, we also ask for a current and a proposed version, as with the budgets, and the proposed version has the repayments to Ngā Tangata and any debt removed that is being applied for. We need to see all debt on the schedule, including government debts, mortgages, loans being repaid to friends or whānau, buy now, pay laters and utility arrears. And if any repayments are on hold for any reason, it's really good to explain this in the cover letter or make a note on the budget. So once we have everything together for an application, we prepare these for assessment alongside a summary sheet. We compile these into a single ordered PDF and we redact all of the identifying information for your client. We'll highlight and note any important details, and we'll also write our own notes on the summary sheet. The summary includes checks such as balancing the budgets with the income and expenditure, meeting the loan criteria, and providing context for an application. This is then emailed to one of our loan committees. We have 4 loan committees, each with 5 to 6 members, and they come from different sectors and bring their own expertise to this role. The aim is to have a 2 working day turnaround on review from the loan committee, and there may be discussion or questions from the loan committee at this point. If we start with everything we need, the process from submission to assessment may only take a week. So my best piece of advice here is to use the checklist and the criteria in the loan application. Ensure you've written a really good cover letter that provides context for your client's situation and need for the loan. And even better, having them add their own voice, either within your cover letter or on their own is great too. So the next step is that the loan committee makes an assessment. An application may be approved, declined, or deferred. However, deferral is uncommon. It might happen if we see that an approval might be successful if something is actioned, such as board payments going through the bank account, or waiting for an application with debt solved to be finalised. If an application is declined, I'll be in touch with you and we can discuss whether there are any other options for your client, perhaps to reapply later on, or whether another service may be able to assist. The good news is that last year, 2021, we had 98% of applications approved. And I really love sending out approval emails to you all. Depending on the type of loan, we'll need you to confirm that the quotes are up to date for a Get Ahead asset building loan. And for the Get Controlled Debt Relief loan, we'll need up-to-date settlements. Once I've got these from you, I send out the loan agreement, the successful client brochure, and a partially pre-filled in work and income redirection form or instructions if your client receives wages. Once I have the agreement, evidence that the repayments have been lodged with work and income or AP set up, we set up the dispersal details in our database, and this is where I hand over to Marcella, who makes the official payments and makes contact with you to let you know this is completed. Kia ora, tātou katoa.
Kia ora, thanks so much, Emily. That was really a really good overview of what happens to an application. I know people are very curious once it gets sent in what actually happens next. The contact details for Linda and Emily are really simple. If you're wanting to contact Linda to discuss an application, you simply write to her at support@ntm.org.nz. And if you have already submitted an application and are wanting to check in with how that's going, you contact Emily at applications@ntm.org.nz. Okay, we are now going to hear from Marcella Mingotti, who is our finance manager, and Marcella is going to be talking through the dispersal process and how we manage repayments, something that is sort of the backroom business that you may not know many details of. So Marcella, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Natalie. Tēnā koutou. As Natalie said, I am the finance manager, and part of my job is the management of the loans from disbursal until the client's account is closed. Today, I'll talk about 3 points: our disbursal process, the management of the loans, and how we manage non-payers. First point is our disbursal process. Once we have all the paperwork, as Emily said, including settlements, loan agreement with secondary contact, and evidence of repayment, the loan is ready to be disbursed. The payout process is quick. and we usually pay the creditors on the same day. We pay much attention to settlement dates, working as quickly as possible to guarantee that the money will be at the creditor's bank account by the settlement date. I will send an email confirming the payout to the financial mentor. As the way that our system is designed, the financial mentor is the one who will receive the payout confirmation, but please feel free to request me to send a confirmation to creditors as needed. Moving on to how we manage the loans. We use a robust system to manage our loans and to help us to process around 500 transactions per week. So we are a small organization with some big numbers. I process the repayments daily and always one day after being received, which means that a statement produced today will show the payment history up to yesterday. We expect to receive the first repayment of the loan within 2 weeks after the disbursal. If it takes longer than 2 weeks, we'll contact the financial mentor and the client. Sometimes we need to resend the redaction to working income or check the automatic payment setup with the client. An updated statement is sent quarterly to the clients and their financial mentors. And we recently changed this until January. We sent statements every 6 months and only to the clients, but this interval was too long. So we changed it to quarterly and started including the financial mentor, so they could also check the payment progression. My last point is about the missed payments. And as I said at the beginning, I reconcile the repayments daily. And this gives us the ability to spot missed payments straight away. Our management system sends a friendly reminder via text or email about the missed payment. And the message says something like that. Hi, client's name, is everything okay? You missed a payment. Please call Marcela on this number, just that. Because the client receives a communication 1 or 2 days after missing the repayment, the chances are higher to get them on board again. If it happens in the second week in a row, I will send the same text through our system. If the client didn't reply, if the client didn't restart the repayment or haven't replied to my message, I will call them and try to agree on an affordable amount and a restarting date. What we want to achieve is regularity, and we are open to reduce the repayment amount for a determined period of time to help the client to achieve that. And I am to review the arrangements monthly and check how the clients are doing. Keeping us posted on their financial situation and keeping the repayment frequency, even at a lower amount, is a sign that the client's a good payer and is contactable. Communication and consistency on the repayments are essential criteria for deciding if the client qualifies for an extension in the future, for example. More than 2 months without repayment, the client is recorded as a non-payer. So 2 months without repayment, the client is a non-payer and added to a vulnerable list. If the client is uncontactable, or if we can't reach an arrangement, this is the moment that I will request the financial mentor's help. And 2 critical highlights here. One is that the financial mentor is not held liable for the loan. And the second one is that we see the relationship between our financial mentor and the client is stronger than our relationship with the client. I believe Margaret from Papakura asked if the budgeting service is responsible for the payments. The answer is no. But sometimes I will request the financial mentor's help to contact the client. By experience, I can tell many times that the client didn't reply to me or didn't answer my calls, but they are open to talking to the financial mentor about their situation and what is an affordable repayment amount. So we see the financial mentors as an important point of contact through all the client's journey. Moving forward, when the loan's balance is below $60, I will contact the client and ask them to stop the redirection or the automatic payment. Any extra amount overpaid will be refunded to the client. And that's me. Kia ora tatou katoa.
Thank you, Marcella. There's some great questions that have come through on the chat too, so we'll look to answer some of those at the end. So I'm now going to, it's my pleasure actually to share this video that we have been sent by Iri Hapiti Edwards, and some of you may already know Iri Hapiti. She calls herself a financial literacy champion, and she's a great friend to Ngā Tangata Microfinance. As I mentioned earlier, she has recorded for us a short talk on strengthening the financial well-being of New Zealanders. So I'm going to share that now, and as we know, my sharing has not been on point, but I do hope that this works. So if it doesn't, please let me know in the chat.
My background, both in a professional and personal sense. At 18 years old, I became one of the youngest in New Zealand to work for finance giant Deloitte. It was my first job, and I was extremely privileged to be around industry leaders at such a young age and working at such a world-class institution. To be in an environment like that so young offered me many advantages and opened so many doors for me, but it also made me really passionate about the world of both business and finance. The very next year, I would find myself working as a Prime Minister's Scholar in Medellin, Colombia, as an international relations analyst for a local company, and I became obsessed with finding solutions to local problems that too often could stem back to income disparities and the continued exploitation of the poor. And this was not unlike what I had seen growing up in Aotearoa. In fact, it had all too much likeness. Transparently, the life I live now is incredibly contrasted to the personal financial circumstances that I was born into. These income disparities as I had learned as a child of a welfare beneficiary growing up in a poor neighborhood to a solo great-grandparent, breathe life to poverty, illness, addiction, and crime, and I knew that these people deserved better. My experiences in corporate New Zealand at such a young age, as well as my experiences as a child, motivated me to continue educating myself in the financial space. Now, I know that socioeconomic issues are deeply nuanced and that these issues do stem from a range of factors, including policy and legislation in a historical and contemporary sense, even down to representation in the media of what people who come from low-income neighborhoods look like, sound like, and behave. But I've also seen how having the resources to learn and practice healthy financial discernment can radically change someone's life. And I often ask myself, if education is the key, how can we continue to advocate for it and for changes that can better impact vulnerable and at-risk communities like the ones that I come from? Now, this leads to the ever important question of why are financial literacy skills important? Well, it feels like common sense, doesn't it? It's like, well, because I'm passionate about being able to afford groceries and make ends meet, of course, but let's take a magnifying glass to the question. People who have better access to financial education resources have a greater likelihood of succeeding in life. This is no secret. Which on the flip means that those who have limited to no financial education resources accessible to them are likely to end up in trickier situations, including finding themselves drowning in pools of debt. Maybe they're sick without the means to protect themselves and get better. Maybe they're unable to access things that they need for themselves and their families. It differs. Suffice to say, financial education is very important. Now, as a youth, I'm 23 years old, so I think I can still call myself that. I would have loved to have had financial education incorporated into my high school curriculum. By the time that I graduated high school, I had what I would call very basic financial education. But this did not safeguard me from making poor financial decisions because I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to invest. My budgeting skills were confined to scribbly notes in the back of a random journal. I caved to peer pressure of going out too much in university without financial boundaries. And I think I really could have used access to these financial resources in high school a little bit earlier in life. And this is something that a lot of you feel, it's not fair. Why don't we have this? Why don't we have access to this? If finances dictate our entire world, then they enable what we can and we cannot do. And youth want an opportunity to fairly access these resources. So what can we do? Well, we can continue to listen to the amazing speakers today. That's one thing. But in an article that I co-authored with Natalie, I advocated for these changes in the curriculum. And alongside being an international business consultant, I'm also an ambassador for other groups back in Aotearoa who aim to equip the next generation of Kiwis with these financial literacy skills. I am passionate about this. We're all passionate about this, about strengthening the well-being of New Zealanders. And I think we're all deeply motivated to continue to advocate for those who deserve another chance, who deserve access to these financial education resources, and who deserve these system changes. I reflect often on how different the life I live now is, the life that I lived as a child, who some days didn't have the basics, who often dreamed of more, who knew one day their dreams could and would come true. And this is something that I hope for all our people, from any background, from any stage of life. I think that we all should have a fair chance at being able to make our life a success, and that we don't just survive, we can all thrive. And I just want to take a moment to Mihi, Ngā Tangata Microfinance, for all the empowering mahi that they are doing in the neighbourhood. And I think that the team are a little bit humble, so they won't speak to it themselves, but they're truly doing incredible things that are changing the lives and strengthening the well-being of all New Zealanders. Thank you for joining me today, and I do hope to stay connected to all of you through the Ngā Tangata Microfinance community, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your session, and no doubt I will see you all soon. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora, and thank you so much to Iri Hapiti, who was able to join us via video today. Sorry, sound issue there, but I think it was resolved. We will be uploading that to our YouTube channel after the webinar, so you will be able to catch the beginning that you missed due to my technical issues later. So we are going to continue with our slides and our presenters this morning, and we are now going to hear from Jane Gibbon, who is a financial mentor, and as I said, also works with Ngā Tangata Microfinance on a part-time basis, helping Emily with some of the applications when we are super busy, which is very, very often. So I am just going to figure this out, which seems to be my issue, doesn't it? Jane, I'm going to hand over to you.
Kia ora tātou. Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the impact of the loans. So the first impact, goes without saying, is the positive impact on the budget, where a deficit can be replaced by a surplus using a debt relief loan. And we often see people locked into high interest debts where up to half of every payment can be made up of interest and fees alone. Well, when you don't have to pay those interest and fees anymore, and it's cleared in only 2 years, the savings can be enormous. You know, being able to free up that money for essentials like food, essentials gives an enormous amount of relief for clients. So the best example of how I have used a Ngā Tangata loan is using them to offer full and final settlements. If the client can offer up to $3,000 to clear a debt that is in arrears, or a debt that they've been paying off at a very small weekly amount and it's going to take years to clear that debt, or maybe a debt that might be putting the client at risk of insolvency, it's worth asking to see if the lender will accept $3,000. I had a client who had a repossession notice for her car. So she used this car for work. She hadn't paid anything in several months due to a family crisis and still owed just under $9,000 on it. There was just no way she was going to be able to catch up on her arrears. I thought I was being a bit cheeky when I offered them a $3,000 as a settlement for a $9,000 debt, and they thought I was being a bit cheeky too. But they did accept it in the end, much to my surprise. So, you know, my client's stress levels plummeted. She was so happy. She got to keep her car, plus her employment was no longer at risk. So the amount of money that can be saved using settlements is just staggering, really. I'll use another of my clients as an example. Again, this was for a car. My client had a loan for several years. She was a single mum and her health was not good. A lot had changed in her life since taking the loan out. So the original amount she had borrowed was $16,800 at 22.99% interest. I asked the lender how much in total had been paid. This was $28,000. Then I asked how much of that was principal. This was $8,300. So out of a $16,800 loan, only $8,300 of the principal had been paid, which meant my client had paid $19,700 in interest and fees, which is just phenomenal. So with these numbers, it becomes just so apparent that she'd already paid for the car, and it really would have been unconscionable to you know, any person to expect this client to carry on paying the loan. Well, you know, of course, she can't just stop paying. She's been a very profitable customer. So I offered a settlement of $3,000, and they very quickly accepted. It's almost a good thing that Ngā Tangata loans are capped at $3,000, because you know that's all you can offer. But anyway, she still had another $8,500 left on this loan, so she ended up saving $5,500, and that's not including the interest she would have had to have paid. The other surprising positive income of this loan for my client was that she ended up loving her car again. Before, she was just about to give up on it because it needed a new headlight and she was having trouble sourcing it. But now she owned the car outright. She put the effort into finding the part and appreciating the car, even cleaning it. Plus, her budget went into surplus. Plus, her stress levels dropped to the point where she was finally able to give up smoking. The loan was the best thing that had happened to her in a long time, and she was very grateful. I want to talk about the benefits of the actual application process, the need to gather the documentation. It can act as a doorway to much broader and deeper conversations with clients. I had a client that was struggling. She had a good income, but had fallen behind on car payments. I suggested in our tangata loan to clear the debt, again, using a settlement offer. I explained all the things that we would need to supply. And when I said that we would need the last 3 months bank statements, well, this is when she admitted that she'd been doing some online gambling. She knew the gambling would be on her bank statements, so she just came out with it. And this provided a really great opportunity to have this come out in the open. She was relieved, actually, to have finally told someone. She'd even been hiding the gambling from her husband. She'd been getting Salvation Army food parcels for months. So after she told me, I was able to refer her to a gambling counsellor. She made an appointment straight away and is still seeing her counsellor to this day regularly. So really, if it hadn't have been for the application process with Ngā Tangata, she might still be gambling to this day. I also want to mention the benefits of using the debt relief loans for clearing old debt that shows up on credit records, debt which is stopping clients from being able to get out of transitional housing and into a private rental. Improving the record, the credit record is essential for this really nowadays. The asset building loans have been absolute godsend for clients who have been declined help from work and income. It also stops them from going to loan sharks. I recently had a successful application for a client who had been declined assistance from work and income for car repairs. He was being offered work opportunities, but wasn't able to accept them because he couldn't get there. His car is currently being fixed and warranted, so he should be in employment pretty soon. And the positive impact on his mental health, it cannot be understated. Collaboration and advocacy. Well, Emily and Linda are very helpful in offering suggestions to improve outcomes for clients. If you've overlooked something, such as work and income entitlements your client might be able to receive, or anything else, then they're like a fresh pair of eyes seeing things that you might have missed, even potential irresponsible lending. If your client doesn't fit the criteria for a Ngā Tangata loan, then they can make referrals to DebtFix or Good Shepherd, ultimately working with you to achieve good outcomes for your client. And that is all from me. Ngā mihi kia koutou.
Kia ora, Jane. Thank you so much. It was lovely to hear from the on-the-ground work, what you do and the impact that our loans are making. Thank you, and we're really pleased to have you as part of our team. Well, aside from technical difficulties, I hope that you have learned some great stuff today and found a lot of insights and learned a bit more about actually our processes and the impact that our loans can have for your clients. And when we work together, what we can do for the community to strengthen their financial well-being. I'm just going to share a page now, which shows all the different ways that you can get in touch with us. We are across all the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, and you can see our Facebook link there. We're also on Instagram, reasonably new to Instagram, so please give us a follow. If you head to the Facebook page, you can join our closed Facebook group there, which I mentioned earlier. We would like to continue the kōrero, and we will look to each month have a different topic that we might invite discussion around in there. So we'd really welcome you to join that and to answer some of the other questions that have come up today. We are also on LinkedIn. And you will be able to find Iri Hapiti on LinkedIn if you would like to connect with her there too. We do have a YouTube channel, and with a little bit of editing, I think, we will put this webinar up on our YouTube channel after today, and we will also put Iri Hapiti's video on there as well, so you'll be able to catch up on the bits that you missed. So we have had some fantastic questions in our chat today. So we've probably got just a little bit of time to answer a couple of those questions, and I will hand those over to the team to answer. First of all, there was a really good question around extending debt relief loans. So for clients that have had a debt relief loan and have repaid that loan really well, what are their options? So I might pass this over to Linda and to Emily to talk to that. So perhaps Linda, if you could talk about what an extension loan actually is, and Emily, what the process for the application is for a debt relief extension loan.
Okay, for a loan extension, I think I mentioned right at the beginning is on the Get Control loan. So initially you can look at $3,000 for debt relief, but there is 2 further extensions that are actually possible, and with a cap of 6,000. So, and the idea is that we want to continue the debt reduction, not just after the one loan, and it provides focus that if you keep paying, stay in touch with mentor, and don't take on any further debt, don't take on any further high interest debt, then that we can work out the time frame of which that you could reapply. You don't have to wait until you've finished the first Ngā Tangata loan, and when it gets down to the point where another $3,000 loan can be taken again, then that will, you can do it at that time. So it's it's a time frame to aim for. It's providing focused. So that's the idea behind them.
Yep, what Linda said. Extensions are great to utilise if you come in with an application and your client has more debt than we can address in that first application, particularly if there are other smaller debts. So anything under, sorry, croaky voice, I've been practicing too much, anything under sort of $4,000 or $5,000 that we can see is going to come down and perhaps sit under that 3,000, we can look at down the track. And so we advise waiting for 6 months after you get your first original loan, and that's about checking that repayments are reliable and that they're working with a financial mentor and are sort of committed to making those changes. And then we need to, the balance always has to be within that $3,000. So yes, up to 2 extensions, up to $6,000, but no more than 3,000 maximum at one time. And so it's looking at when that original debt comes down to a point where we can start adding in another one of those debts that was on the original debt schedule, and put them together. And we put those into one singular loan, so it's easier for the client. They have a new total and they just still make that one payment. Yeah.
Thanks, Emily and Linda. We've had so many questions and we're running out of time. So what we'll do is we will carry on in the closed Facebook group and answer some of those questions. So I really encourage you to head to Facebook and join that group. It is time to close, and I really appreciate you staying with us this morning despite the hiccups, and I thank my team immensely for the work that they've put into this webinar today and their really the great stuff that they've shared that I'm hoping will be of use to you, and we look forward to seeing lots of applications coming through or inquiries if we can help you with anything. So thanks very much again. We opened with a karakia, so I would like to close with a karakia also. Ka whakairia te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia turuki whakataha ai, kia turuki whakataha ai. Hui taiki e. Thank you so much again. Go well, take care, and ngā mihi nui. Ka kite ana.